glad to be here now. So I'm just going to talk a bit about the Union Co-op Initiative as one of the responses in this time to help create an economy that works for all. And what this is and what excites me about it is, and I guess so you've already introduced me, so did you talk about Mondragon at all in the introduction? So how many people in this room know what Mondragon is? A number of you do, and plenty of us don't in this room. So what it is the world's most successful network of worker-owned cooperatives. It's in the Basque region of Spain. And when we talk about success, what it looks like today, they have over 80,000 people employed in over 110 cooperatives. This region has been completely transformed. In the 50s when it began, totally devastated. After the Spanish Civil War, over 50% of the people were unemployed and living in poverty. And within about 20 to 30 years, in this particular area of Spain, they got to almost full employment. So that was pretty remarkable. And now, nearly 60 years into their experiment, when in the other parts of Spain, Spain as a whole has 27% is their level of unemployment. This particular area of Spain has 4% unemployment. So it's been a really resilient model, and it's based on one worker, one vote, worker ownership. And it's based on not just being one isolated co-op or business out there, because the result is we're in this global economy, and none of us, no business, for example, can be isolated from downturns, from cycles, from this large economy that we are all a part of. And so one of the critical parts of Mondragon's success is they're not one business in front of this economy. It's an integrated network. It's a multi-sectoral network. So they have manufacturing, they have construction, they have their own university, they have their own bank, they have a supermarket chain that has 40,000 people employed, over 2,000 people. Over 2,000 stores are part of this chain. They're very diversified in what they do, and they're all really deeply connected. In fact, 10% of their profits go back to the larger whole, the Mondragon Cooperative Corporation, who in turn, and it's really democratically represented by all of the cooperatives, invest that money into rainy day funds, invest that money into new co-op expansion or new co-op launch funds, invest it into education and research, part of why they have over 800 patents and so forth. So it's a really remarkable model. And what happened was in 2009, the United Steelworkers made an unprecedented historic agreement with Mondragon to launch union co-ops here in the United States, so to transplant that model here. And this was really exciting to us. I worked at the Intercommunity Justice and Peace Center, and I see the new director in the back of the room. Her name is Allison. I'm excited she's here. But anyway, so the Intercommunity Justice and Peace Center, we sent delegations. I worked there for 12 years. We sent delegations in the 80s and 90s and said, wow, Mondragon is awesome, and wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be a great response to the level of poverty in Cincinnati? To figure out a way to get this network transplanted here and to grow these opportunities and to really shift this dynamic. We'd like to see that we want those thriving communities that can come from this model. But what people at IJPC thought when we went there at that time was, wow, this is going to be tough to bring to Cincinnati, because one, the level of suffering, poverty, and unemployment was experienced by the community as a whole. It was deeply experienced by the whole. And while there are people in our communities that are suffering incredibly, there are other people that are doing really well, and there's some more separation between all. So there's not that level of shared suffering that was existing. That was kind of like, we got to do something together or perish. There was a sort of a force in that direction towards cooperation that we don't have in the same exact kind of way. And secondly, when you come to the United States, we think about in a bit of a more individualized kind of way. So in the Basque community, there was more of a solidarity culture and thinking about whole communities thriving. And we think about the United States, and often we think about the American dream, which is more about one family thriving behind a picket fence rather than the whole community. So that big kind of disconnect in terms of that kind of solidarity consciousness is sort of very critical in order for this model to take root. And so IJPC thought in the 80s and 90s, this is wonderful what's happening there, but it will be difficult to really help it take root here. But that whole calculation changed because in 2009, when the steelworkers made that agreement, it was like, okay, this is the missing ingredient. This is what we need. Because we in the United States actually do have a lot of solidarity-minded people. And in the best practices of labor, we have incredible solidarity consciousness. We have incredible scale. And connecting into that mentality is one way to help bring that model to life here. So connecting with labor, really important in a number of different ways. One, for that solidarity-mindedness, but clearly solidarity-mindedness isn't just limited to labor. It exists in all kinds of pockets. The Economics of Compassion initiative that's occurring right now is primarily composed of people of different faith traditions that have a serious solidarity mind, that are really concerned that all of our welfare are tied up together and we all do better when we all do better, and an injustice to one is a threat to all. So we have that, and that's what we need to tap into to make this work. But what's been exciting, because this model has emerged and come into existence, is we have brought it to life in Cincinnati. The agreement was announced in October of 2009. Phil Amadon, I don't know if any of you know him, but he is a person who was a railway mechanic for 32 years. When it occurred, he came and got me and two other organizers and said, this is huge. We need to bring this energy to Cincinnati. And what's been exciting is since that point, we have, and lots of people are now involved, and we've launched 2 union co-ops. One is called Our Harvest, and what Our Harvest does is it grows food, it aggregates and distributes, so it aggregates other local produce and local food products from other producers and distributes that, and then we also train farmers. So we have a partnership with Cincinnati State, and their sustainable, am I done with my time? Oh, cool. And the other sustainable agricultural management, they have this certificate for 2 years. Their students come to our urban farm, which is in College Hill, an area we lease. They come there on Fridays. We also lease a farm that's out in Morrow. We have, during this year, employed 20 people. Our long-term vision is within 7 to 10 years to have 700 acres under cultivation and to have 200 family-sustaining jobs. So that's Our Harvest. That was launched in April of 2012. Then we launched one called Sustainergy, which is all focused on energy retrofits. It's been focused on commercial buildings and focused on nonprofits, but is now moving into residential installation as well. Then we, oh, you have a question?
What was it called?
Sustainergy. Yeah, and I'll give you our website, and I didn't bring any thing with me because I came from a different place, because I had not written this commitment down and agreed to another commitment, which was a mistake, and I'm very sorry about all of that. So if you want to know more for sure, let me tell you the website. Lots of information there. It's CincinnatiUnionCoop.org. I could have handouts for the next time. So meaning that if you come to the next community owner forum, there could be just handouts if you want to learn more about this. But
Sign up for the newsletter.
you can sign up for the newsletter, and that's very smart. And I do have paper with me, so we can work that out. We send out something about once a month that lets you know about the developments. But there are 7 initiatives underway right now in different forms. One of the ones that I'm particularly excited about is, I won't talk about all of them right now, but one of them is Apple Street Market. So in Northside, when the Save-A-Lot closed in September of 2013, that was a big deal, especially for the lower income residents in Northside. It takes, even though there's a Kroger's 1.9 miles away, it actually takes 2 buses to get there, and it's a really drawn out, difficult process. And so when it closed, Northside Community Council approached us and said, you all create worker-owned businesses, could you create a worker-owned grocery store? And we were a little bit concerned because it's a really thin margin in grocery stores. They usually make 1%. And then what we came to find out in these neighborhoods, why Kroger's closes them, is that they typically lose 4% in low to moderate income neighborhoods groceries instead of making 1% lose 4%. So there's something called a 5% grocers gap. So we were a little bit concerned as we started the feasibility study, but we were able to encounter all kinds of great partners, including a group out of Philadelphia called Uplift Solutions, which is focused on creating sustainable stores in these kind of neighborhoods and figuring out a way to get beyond the grocer gap. And we were approached not just by Northside, but at the same time by College Hill and Avondale connected with us, and all these different places said we need a grocery store. So we said, well, let's see if we can figure out this model. We did a feasibility study, a business plan. We got the feasibility study complete for both Northside and College Hill. They're feasible, it turns out, in both neighborhoods. And what we've decided is a multi-stakeholder co-op. So unlike pure worker ownership, which is one worker, one owner, which is how Mondragon does it, Mondragon actually does it that way for all their co-ops except their grocery store. Their grocery store is it's multi-stakeholder, so it's got community owners as well as worker owners. So the community owners, that's what we're doing right now, actually. Actually, in Northside, we will have the store up and running from the point that we get 1,500 community owners. Apple Street Market at this point, which will be in that former Save-A-Lot, which will be a place that has affordable groceries to organic and our harvest products and all of these kinds of things. It'll be a neat place where people of different backgrounds can meet and find what they're looking for. But it will be up and running 6 months from the time that we get to 1,500 community owners.